Joining us now, he was, of course, a UCF All-American, one of the greatest soccer players to come out of UCF, top four in goals all time, and currently in his second season with the Tampa Bay Rowdies. He's coming off a great first season, was a first-team All-USL. He's right now currently fourth as we talk in goal scoring among many categories in the USL. I speak of Cal Jennings, so I'm excited to see. A man I covered for a long time. How you doing, Cal?
Doing great. Happy to be here. Happy to reconnect.
Tell me about how this season's been going for you so far. As I mentioned, you're currently fourth in goal scoring. You're among the many top in the categories in the USL. How's this season gone for you so far here as you go into your second season with the Rowdies?
Yeah, I think it's going really well. Second season kind of got off to scoring a little bit quicker, which I'm thankful for. It took me a while to get adjusted last year, and the team's doing well. We just coming off a loss, so we're looking to get back to winning ways, get back to kind of streaking wins together. But I think overall it's going well as a team and as an individual.
You're talking about getting adjusted. So far in your tenure with the Rowdies, you've played for four different head coaches. Obviously you started with Neil Collins last year. He left midseason to go overseas. You had a couple of interns, and now you got obviously Robbie. How is that adjusting in such a short time to so many head coaches?
Yeah, it's definitely not easy. Obviously, Neil was here, kind of recruited me here, and up until halfway through the season, kind of when we were picking it up, he got a great opportunity to go over to England. And then, like you mentioned, we had two interims, and now we're at Robbie. A lot of it is just trying to get to know their personality as quick as possible, get to know their expectations. And I think I got a good feel of how Robbie wants us to play, what he values and what he sees as a good performance. And, I'm just looking to play my role within that.
Learned last season that's helped you you have applied this year into your season that, going in there, being in familiar grounds there with the Rowdies. What have you learned from last year going through that you've made you better this year?
I think just some of the team and the organizations, like their values, I think that helps a lot, and their style of play. Even with the coaching change, there's always things that carry over between coaches. And a lot of that, the Rowdies want to play aggressive soccer. They want to, put the other team on the back foot, press high, create lots of chances. And that's something that, I had a little bit in my game, but I think that the pressure especially is something that I'm increasing this year.
Kind of just take us a little bit through your pro journey. When you look at kind of the early start coming out of UCF, it could appear like you were kind of struggling. You're bouncing around teams. You're not getting much playing time. But now with the Rowdies, it really feels like you've found a home. Like you're not only you're the top scorer. What has that whole journey been like for you?
Yeah, it's been all over the place. I think nobody's journey is always so straight. There's peaks and valleys, and I've had it. From when I started, got drafted in Dallas and didn't sign a contract to kind of getting an opportunity with Memphis last minute, and then the whole LA Vegas thing to here. You learn to be adaptable, and you learn to okay, even if the situation isn't perfect for me, I've got to find a way to make this, as good as I can. I got to find a way to perform, and I think I've done that everywhere I've gone. I don't think everything was a great, setup for me, a great situation, and that's kind of how professional careers are sometimes, and you kind of roll with the punches. But, I feel good. I feel like I found a home in Tampa, a place that, is really invested in me thriving and performing and helping the team. And, I'm happy to feel valued here.
Obviously, it's unique. Nick's covered your pro career. I've covered you since your days at UCF. I'm curious, how are you a different player today than you were when you left UCF? After the 2019 season, as you mentioned, you got drafted. And if you had the journeys that you just described, your career, how are you a different player today than you were when you got out of UCF?
Yeah, I think I've changed a decent amount. I would say one thing that I've noticed a lot at UCF, we had a great team. Especially those last 2 years, lots of talented players. We typically dominated possession, dominated the midfield, and got a lot of crossing opportunities. So when I was there, I really just had to find space in the box. I spent a lot of time just, trusting my teammates were going to put it in the right position. And I think my game has adapted since being in the pros of really I still do that, but also I've improved in behind. I'm using, some strong attributes that I had in college to a greater extent. I'm finding times to pick up the ball and run at defenders deeper to set up others. I think one really good indicator of that, and maybe not so much this year, but my second year in Vegas, I ended up like close to 10 assists, I think. I was, 7 or 8, and I don't think I've ever done that in my career. I think most of the time I've been, the guy on the end of it scoring goals and happy to be that. But kind of finding a way to, create for others to play different roles and not just the goal scorer.
Kind of going off like what you were saying at the start of your answer there, you were talking about your time at UCF, especially your last 2 years. We'd really like to talk about that. Your final 2 years, you're putting up all those goals, including a 20-goal year, which I believe you tied for the most goals in the NCAA. You make all these runs to the NCAA tournament, including the Sweet 16. Just take us through those years. Like, what were those years like for you?
I loved them. Honestly, I laugh about it. When I was in my senior year of college, I didn't want to leave. I had found, the perfect situation for me. I was in a team that's playing great with a bunch of guys I really got along with. We had an incredible community there, and we were performing well. We were winning championships. Definitely got beat probably a few too many times by some teams we didn't want to, but we had such a great thing going, and I'm truly appreciative for those years, for Scott and Paul and Jamie, and kind of the development that's brought me to this point. And if I had years of eligibility on the end of my professional career, who knows? Maybe I would go back, but I don't think that's legal anymore.
Trust me, if there was a way, they didn't want you to go either. They were glad to get you there. But how did playing at UCF, playing for Scott Calabrese, the head coach there, how did that prepare you for the pro career that, getting you to pro soccer?
Yeah, honestly, I think the first lesson that I learned playing for Calabrese was he wasn't the coach that recruited me there. So that second, spring season, I was kind of fighting for my job, fighting for an opportunity, trying to prove like, hey, I'm here to help this team. I don't want to be looking for another school to play for. And so you learn how to earn a coach's trust. And that's something I've had to do a lot in the professional game. So I think that's was my early lesson from Scott. I also, kind of learned how to be adaptable. I thought Scott's a very good listener. He's very good at, taking in information and when I was there trying new things. And you have to do that as a pro because, you're not always at the top of the roster. Sometimes you're playing a different role within the team and, you've got to learn, okay, how can I do that to the best and still show my attributes to the fullest?
Going off of the whole Coach Scott thing, he, in my opinion, has really, brought this program to such incredible heights. Like, this might be the most successful period for UCF soccer. And when you really look back, you can kind of pinpoint your time there as like kind of the start of that. Like, you were the major part of the team that helped elevate it to where it is now. Just to have that place in UCF history, what does that mean to you?
It's awesome. I think everybody wants to build something. They want to be a part of something big. And like you spoke on, we were part of the early parts of Scott and Paul and their dynasty. I don't know if it's not there yet. We need a few more championships for it to be a dynasty, but it's awesome to see the program just continue to take strides, make the NCAA tournament on a regular basis. And even something when I wasn't there, we never won the conference tournament. We won the league, but we never won the conference tournament. And then right after I left, they were able to get over that, hump in the career, which was pretty awesome to see.
Well, going off that, I got to ask, like, sounds like you're keeping up with the program a lot. Are you keeping up? Are you watching what they've been doing in the past couple of years since you've left?
Yeah, I tune in. Absolutely. I keeping up with the games, watching a lot. I probably don't do the greatest job at, calling and texting friends on the team. I'm a pretty poor communicator when it comes to that, but definitely I'm always watching and rooting for them and, hoping they even do better than we did.
Well, you scored 46 goals at UCF, fourth all time. But the goal that I'll never forget, and I was privileged to call this match, was your last home match, as it turns out, your last shot at UCF on the soccer track against Missouri State, round of 32, overtime. You get the feed. I believe it was Gino Vivi get you in the cross on a break, and you scored the game-winning goal to send UCF at the time, for the first time ever, to the Sweet 16. How often do you think about that moment? Because that's a historic moment in UCF soccer lores and UCF athletic history.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was an incredible feel. The farthest we had been in the tournament. And I remember the game. I felt like we were dominating the game, getting lots of chances, and it just wasn't going for us. And there's definitely some nerves there, but it was awesome. We did a great job. I think it was a ball in behind to Gino. He played a beautiful cross like he did all season, and I was just having to have a hard run and put it in the back of the net and did that. And I think of that, a lot. Gino and I keep up. We always, share some smiles and some laughs at the time we spend together. And it's a great moment for my career.
What do you think of the current UCF roster? Is there any like players who maybe you didn't have the chance to play with that really stick out to you and who are you really impressed by?
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously been lots of talent coming in and leaving. I'm actually playing with a guy who transferred in now, Zane Bubb. Had a good little career at the end of, I think it was his last 2 years at UCF. It's been cool to kind of get his perspective of the program. It's been awesome to see Luca Dorado thrive and really play well, kind of take the mantle from me, because I also did that from guys before me. The Haji Berries, the Romario Williams. There were a lot of guys who scored goals at UCF, and to see that program consistently have a goal scorer, I think is an incredible thing.
Yeah, you mentioned Luca, I believe, is 9 goals behind you, an all-time list there. He's trying to catch you there, but you mentioned Zabub. UCF was ranked number 1 in the country last year. There was a first year in the Sun Bowl. They were ranked number 1. First UCF team of any sport on campus to be ranked number 1. Did you remember hearing about that? And there had to be some pride there when you heard that UCF and the marks they reached last season with that historic year with being ranked number 1 during the season.
Yeah, I remember hearing about it. I was following along and rooting for him, and that's such an awesome accomplishment. Like you said, the first program in school history to be ranked number 1. And for that to be the men's soccer program, something that I have a lot of pride in, that I was a part of. I couldn't be happier about it.
As great as all that was, unfortunately for us UCF fans, it was a little bit of a bitter ending for us when they got knocked out in the first round. And I have to imagine, for the team, that's got to be weighing heavy on their minds. And as, the opening match for this next season comes up close, I'm just curious, if you ever had a chance to speak to the team now, knowing everything that happened, what kind of advice would you give them?
Yeah, I would probably say, last year's in the past. You build off of what you did well there, but at the end of the day, you've got to prove it each and every week, and that's going to start with the first game of the year and continue through the season. Knockout tournaments are difficult. At the end of the day, only one team can win it all, and I don't think you can fully judge success off of one postseason. And I'm confident they're going to bounce back and even go deeper in the NCAA tournament this year. So I think being ranked number 1 is a great sign that the program's still doing well. And now we'll really just be, okay, how far can we go in the postseason tournament? How can we continue to build off of that?
And I've talked to Coach Calabrese. He used to say this about you, and he says this about Dorado, that you two have that special it thing as far as knowing how to finding ways to put the ball on the back of the net. You can't just teach or coach. Just describe what he's talking about there, because you are one of the best goal scorers I've ever seen at any level, and you've continued that through your pro career. You've proven that. What did it take to be a great goal scorer at the highest level like you've accomplished? And Luca's trying to accomplish that at UCF, and perhaps after he's done at UCF.
Yeah, I think knowing your strengths, first of all, know what you do well, put yourself in those situations as much as you can. I'm a big believer in picking up your teammates. The more they trust you, the more they feel like you really care about them. I honestly believe they play better around you. They look for opportunities to set you up. And then I think Luca would probably speak on it as well. There's an instincts part of it. Just knowing, okay, not only where am I going to be, but where's the ball likely to come out? Where is the ball likely to get served to? And then having the confidence to not hesitate in those moments, just to go for it. I know in my best goal scoring streaks in my careers, I've been playing a lot off of instincts. And when I'm struggling or when I'm not finishing well, I have to remind myself, hey, maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe I just need to feel where I need to be. I've been doing this my whole life, so I should be able to continue doing it.
We were talking about, your golden goal in the tournament earlier, and I have to imagine that's got to be one of your most favorite memories from your time playing at UCF. So is that your number 1? And if not, what is?
Ooh, honestly, I think that is the number one memory, just because it was such a significant moment for the program. Scoring in overtime a golden goal, that is such an exciting, group. Like so many emotions come along with that moment, and to be celebrating with guys who I played with for 2, 3, 4 years, I think that probably was the best moment. I had some really good ones against UConn. I like that we always kind of had one over on UConn, which was nice. Um, but yeah, I'd have to really think back on it if there's a moment that beat that.
What advice would you give young players, maybe UCF players that aspire to be pros? What advice would you give them if they reached out to you and say, "What advice would you give me?"
I think something I learned from my time at UCF is that everybody has a different path, and that's kind of the beauty of this sport, especially in an era where there's a lot of guys signing out of the academy. There's a lot of pro teams putting more investment in that. I think there are really talented players who still come through the college system, and believing that, like, okay, you can still become a pro this way. This can still be a part of your development. I know personally, I wasn't ready coming out of high school to be a professional. There wasn't really the option in Atlanta at the time or in the Southeast, but had there been, I don't think I would have been signed. So I needed time to get stronger. I needed time to develop my game even more, to grow in confidence. And college is a great time to do that. And then to take that confidence out into your pro career is extremely important.
Well, Cal, we want to thank you so much for joining us. It's been incredible talking to you. But before we let you go, we just kind of want to ask one more thing with you. We've talked about your past with UCF. We talked about the present with the Rowdies. Now we just want to ask, about your future. You got a lot of soccer left in you. You've only really just started your pro career. What are your plans and goals for the future?
Yeah, that's something I'm thinking about a lot. I'm in a situation that I really like and thriving here in St. Pete, but I'm also getting older, and Europe is very intriguing. So I'm hoping, maybe an opportunity can come there and I can experience the game in a different culture, in a different league. But I'm also one to be very happy where I'm planted and grow where I'm planted. So if it's here with the Rowdies long term, I'm thankful for that. Or if it's another move back to MLS, we'll see.
Well, we wish you very well, not just the rest of this season, but moving forward, Cal. You got a lot of fans that still follow you, especially at Night Nation there. And, man, it's exciting to see you doing so well, man, and keep doing that. And thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. Good luck the rest of the season. I'm sure we'll run into each other at some point during the season.
I hope so. It's been a pleasure talking to y'all.